Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to the 100th edition of the Jazz Albums Review Series. And what better way to celebrate this historic milestone by taking a look at another 2022 release, this time from one of the most celebrated, decorated, respected, popular and legendary jazz fusion bands of all time. And they're still going very strong to this day. And these guys need no introduction whatsoever. I am talking about, of course, the one and only, the Yellowjackets. And this is their latest recording for Mac Avenue Records, Paralell Motion. So Paralell Motion marks the 24th studio album for the Yellowjackets and their 27th album overall. And this also marks the first time in 7 years at the time, since 2016's Cohearence, that the Yellowjackets have released and recorded an album featuring new material. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Yellowjackets have been quiet, because trust me, they haven't. They have been extremely busy playing and collaborating with a number of different artists in different situations. They collaborated with the lovely and very talented vocalist Luciana Souza and recorded an album called Raising Our Voice, which featured Luciana Souza singing vocal versions of Yellowjackets' classic material. And they also recorded an album called Jackets XL, where the Yellowjackets played with the WDR Big Band and performed their own classic material as big band arrangements. But still no new material in sight. But fast forward to 2022, and here we are, hot off the presses, a brand new album featuring all new material, and that is Paralell Motion. Definitely worth the wait, in my opinion. And as everybody knows, the Yellowjackets have had a number of different lineup changes in their history, from the early days as the Robin Ford Band to the classic lineup with Russell Ferrante, Jimmy Haslip, Mark Russo and William Kennedy, to the continuation of the classic lineup with the addition of Bob Mincer. But the current lineup of Russell Ferrante, William Kennedy, Bob Mincer and Dane Alderson, in my opinion, is perhaps the band's strongest lineup to date. And these guys together sound absolutely tremendous, and they're just going stronger and stronger. And what more can you say? The Yellowjackets are constantly evolving and reinventing themselves time and time again. And when you look at it, the Yellowjackets have been around for a long time. And it's not just their longevity that is very impressive. The longevity of the band members is equally as astonishing as the history of the band itself. Russell Ferrante is the only original member who has been in the band since its inception. He's been in the Yellowjackets for 42 years as the Yellowjackets, and he's also been in the band in a total of 45 years. He's played in every single lineup and incarnation, and his piano/keyboard playing is a huge part of the Yellowjackets. When you hear the Yellowjackets, the first thing you hear is Russell Ferrante, because he's such a huge part of the sound, and his compositions make the Yellowjackets what they are. And also, William Kennedy, who came on board in 1986, has been the band's drummer for a total of almost 37 years. He was originally the drummer for 12 years. He left, came back in 2011, and has been in the band ever since. And all due respect to all of the other great drummers who came along, Ricky Lawson, Peter Erskine, Marcus Baylor, they're all great drummers in their own right. But for me, when I think of the Yellowjackets, I think of William Kennedy. He is the definitive Yellowjackets drummer. He is the muscle behind the music, and he is a huge part of the sound. And also, what more can you say about the guy? He's one of the best drummers in the world, and he's another one. He just continues to keep getting better and better. And then we've got Bob Mincer, who came on board in 1990 after replacing Mark Russo. He's been in the Yellowjackets close to nearly 33 years now. unbelievable. And originally Bob Mincer joined as a guest artist, and he recorded with the band in a classic album called Greenhouse, and he's been in the band ever since. And he has co-written, arranged, and written most of the music for the Yellowjackets. And his tenor, soprano, EWI, and bass clarinet has been a benchmark for all of the Yellowjackets albums for virtually most of their history since joining. And he's one of the best sax players in the world. I definitely put him up there with Michael Brecker. And of course, last but certainly not least, we got the youngest member of the band, bassist Dane Alderson, who has been in the band now close to nearly 8 years now. And he replaced Felix Pastoris and, of course, founding member Jimmy Haslip. Now, all due respect to Jimmy Haslip, we all love him. We all miss him in the band, but I think Dane Alderson is a fine addition to the band. He fits in very nicely with the rest of the guys like a glove, and he's just an unbelievable bass player. And what more can you say? Dane Alderson just continues to impress everyone with his bass work and solos, and I would say he fills the shoes of Jimmy Haslip very well. And trust me when I tell you, those are some pretty big shoes to fill, but Dane Alderson, he just plays in the band like he's been playing with them for 10 years. And not just that, not only has he been in the band 8 years, he's coming up to nearly 10 years himself. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, the current lineup of the Yellowjackets we have for Parallel Motion is Russell Francie on piano and keyboards, Bob Mincer on tenor and soprano saxophones and EWI, William Kennedy on drums and additional keyboards, Dane Alderson on electric bass and MIDI sequencing, and we've got a guest appearance from Jean Baylor on vocals, who is the wife of former Yellowjackets drummer Marcus Baylor. And Parallel Motion is, for me, one of the strongest Yellowjackets recordings to date, and it's kind of like a little throwback album in a way. There's a lot of keyboards, a lot of piano. It's not a bad thing. I love Russell Francie, but at times the music sounds like a mixture of The Spin, Like a River. There's little hints of Greenhouse in there. You know, it definitely sounds more like a throwback album. That's not to say that the Yellowjackets are just recycling old ground. You know, they're still reinventing themselves and coming up with new stuff, but this definitely feels like a throwback album. You know, as I said, there's lots of keyboards, and there's another little change here. The bass clarinet has been completely shelved. Bob Mincer is playing more tenor, more soprano, still playing the EWI. He's still one of the few guys who play the EWI to this day. And nothing against the bass clarinet. It does bring a very dark, brooding sound to the music. But I think really with Bob Mincer playing tenor and soprano saxes, it kind of brings it more back to the closest of the traditional Yellowjackets sound. So it definitely gives it that classic jacket sound that we all know and love. We've got some more changes here. This is a return to form for the band. They return to the quartet format, so there's no additional musicians on this album. It's 4 guys at the top of their game, showcased to the fullest, and that's what I like. You know, nothing against the extra musicians, but this is what I want to hear. The Yellowjackets, the core members, doing what they do best, and that's deliver top-notch musicianship. So let's have a look at what we got here. So we got the credits here, and we got some more credits here as well. Another interesting difference here. In the past, Yellowjackets members have always co-written, or there's always been like 3 guys writing the music, or maybe the whole band. This is a little difference here. Each composition is written and composed by each individual member. So for the first track, Intrigue was written and composed by Bob Mincer. Challenging Times was written and composed by Russell Francie. The title track was written and composed by Bob Mincer. Onyx Manor was written and composed by Dane Alderson. Samaritan was written and composed by William Kennedy. El Mio Amico, written and composed by Russell Francie. Resilience, written and composed by Bob Mincer. If You Believe, written and composed by Russell Francie, and also wrote the lyrics as well. There's just no end to this man's talents. He continues to surprise everyone each and every time. And then we got Early, written and composed by Dane Alderson. So very interesting how each band member writes the song on their own. But that's not to say that the Yellowjackets don't pull their weights, because even though each individual band member had written a song, it's very much a band effort. Everyone really contributes a lot, so it really feels like everyone wrote this song, but it's just like one guy. So I kind of like that. It's an interesting twist here to the Yellowjackets. So once again, it is a band effort, but each member of the band brought their contribution to the table, and everyone just works together to come up with a finished product. And they do a really good job here. You know, there's nothing really more I can say about that. So standout tracks for me are Intrigue, great kicker, love it, classic Yellowjackets. Challenging Times is a really good number, especially with all the haunting synth sounds and textures that Russell Francie delivers on his keyboards. Parallel Motion is another great track. I love Onyx Manor. It's dirty, funky, lots of big synth work from Russell Francie, dirty drumming from William Kennedy. It's just really, really good. Another track I really started to like a lot is El Mio Amico. It just sounds like a throwback to Like a River. You know, you got Russell Francie delivering the orchestrated synth work, and you got Bob Mincer playing soprano. It sounds like it could have come from Like a River. It's just absolutely lovely. And Mincer, what more can you say? He's one of the best sax players on the planet, and he never, ever disappoints. Resilience is another great track, and Early is another great track as well. If you believe, I've got nothing against vocal tracks. I could do without it, but Jean Baylor sings this song very, lovely with her beautiful vocals, and I don't mind it, but, I could live without the vocal track, but it's nice, so it gets a pass with me, so it's all good. But as I said, top-notch album from start to finish, and in my opinion, as I said before, one of the strongest Yellowjackets albums to date. And I hope this isn't the last time we get another album from the Yellowjackets. I hope we don't wait another 7 years. I definitely would love to see more. These guys never disappoint. They always deliver to the highest order. And I was very lucky to catch these guys on tour back in 2022. They played virtually most of this album, apart from maybe one or two tracks, I think. And I got to meet Russell Francie after the show as well, who is a true first-class gentleman and one of the nicest guys you will ever meet. He's a really, really cool guy. And this album is quickly shaping up to be one of my favourite Yellowjackets albums of all time. And for me, it's another masterpiece from a band who is definitely not resting on their laurels. They're continuing to get better and better with every listen, and they're just constantly reinventing themselves time and time again to keep things fresh. And that's what I love about the Yellowjackets, and I'm happy we still got these guys going very strong, making music. Much love to all of the Yellowjackets. So that's going to be it for me. I am going to wrap this up now. What's your favourite track from Paralell Motion? Is it Intrigue, Challenging Times, the title track, Onyx Manor, Samaritan, El Mio Amico, Resilience, If You Believe, or Early? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. And before I go, I want to dedicate the 100th edition of this series to three amazing gentlemen who also happen to be huge Yellowjackets fans. Asvel Mikel Ismail, Carmelo Stella, and Mark David. You guys are my musical brothers, and this special edition is dedicated to all of you. Much love to all three of you amazing human beings. And let's see if we can get this series to 200 editions. So until next time, take care everybody and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.